how do you fall in love with a movie? And can screenwriters and filmmakers make audiences fall in love, or is that like trying to catch lightning in a bottle?
Inconceivable! You keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
I'm not going to claim there's a formula for this, or else every movie would be a classic. But I do think that great movies and great TV shows make audiences fall in love with them, in large part because they treat their relationship with the audience like an actual relationship that needs to be nurtured. When I say a movie is doing this, what I mean is the screenwriter has structured the story in such a way to make this falling in love possible. A fantastic example of this is The Princess Bride, written by William Goldman. It's an all-time great and one of my absolute favorite movies. You could choose a dozen things that this movie does well, from the quotable dialogue to the fantastic character work.
Bye-bye, boys!
Have fun storming the castle!
But I think it's a classic in large part due to how it develops its relationship with the audience. I want to break down some of the things that the film is doing to hook the audience and grow that relationship into true love.
This is true love. I think this happens every day.
The Princess Bride cares so much about the audience that it actually put the audience in the movie. The film is presented as a book called The Princess Bride, being read by a grandfather to his grandson who's homesick from school. The grandson acts as a stand-in for the audience. You can actually map the audience's relationship with the movie onto the grandson's relationship with the story that his grandfather is reading him. He starts out skeptical.
What is this? Are you trying to trick me?
Gets hooked, becomes more invested, and in the end can't wait for the rewatch.
Maybe you could come over and read it again to me tomorrow.
Or reread, I guess. As the grandson hears the story, he's asking questions, voicing his doubts, and mentioning the things he's excited to hear more about.
Who kills Prince Humperdinck? At the end, somebody's got to do it.
But what's really happening is that the grandson is asking questions that the audience watching the film might be wondering, and he's also sharing doubts and fears that the audience watching the film might have. This allows the movie to address those questions and fears, and it reassures the audience that it's not taking them for granted. Now, this format of the movie being presented as a book being read to a character only works in certain situations. It works here because the story is basically a fairy tale, so I'm not saying that screenwriters have to do this in their own scripts. But I am saying that this is an example of how seriously you should take your relationship with the audience and how much care and attention you should give them. Screenwriters need to think about what the audience is feeling and what questions they're asking at each point in the story. Hey, if you're falling in love with this video, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on all notifications. One of the ways you can give care and attention to the audience is by putting in the work early in the story that will allow them to really love the later parts of the story. If you're into love languages, I think this would count as acts of service, but if you're not into love languages, people just like when you do things for them that make their lives more enjoyable. And audiences are no different. Let me give you a couple of examples. In the start of the movie, we learn the true meaning of the phrase, "as you wish."
That day, she was amazed to discover that when he was saying, "as you wish," what he meant was, "I love you."
The audience learns that "as you wish" is Wesley's special way of telling Buttercup, "I love you." So later, when Buttercup pushes the man in black off a cliff and he's falling and saying, "as you wish," the audience knows that's actually Wesley. The movie has let the audience feel smart, which is really nice, but they also feel cool and accepted because they're part of the experience. It's like how good it feels when you're part of an inside joke. And then at the end of the movie, when the grandfather's leaving, he tells his grandson,
"As you wish."
The audience understands he's actually telling his grandson, "I love you." Again, they get to feel smart, but again, they're also part of this experience. But this time, they're part of that special bond, that special love between a grandfather and his grandson. The audience actually gets to be part of that relationship and share the warmth of that love. But enough with the heartstrings. Let's look at another example with torture. I mean, literal torture. When Wesley is in the pit of despair, he's going to be tortured by Count Rugen with the machine. He's going to start Wesley out on level 1 and may someday go as high as level 5. And then we see how much level 1, the lowest level, hurts Wesley.
How do you feel? Interesting.
This lays the groundwork for when Prince Humperdinck comes in later and tortures Wesley all the way at level 50. Without that earlier scene, level 50 wouldn't mean anything. It'd just be an abstract number on a make-believe machine. But because of the earlier scene, the audience gets to feel a much more intense emotional reaction to what Wesley's going through. Of course, when you're doing this, you have to put in the effort to make the groundwork interesting as well. You can't just dump in exposition that's going to pay off later. The groundwork has to be integrated into the story and compelling on its own. Both of the examples I just shared were things that happened earlier in the movie that then paid off later in the movie. But they were also examples where the audience wasn't necessarily expecting a payoff. They didn't make the audience wonder how something was going to turn out. But making the audience wonder things and anticipate things is also super important. Movies and TV shows are often built around one big question that the audience is wondering. Like in The Princess Bride, the question is probably, will Wesley and Buttercup live happily ever after? But that one question isn't enough to keep the audience interested for the whole hour and 38 minutes. You have to keep them engaged with a lot of other little things to wonder or anticipate, or else their eyes are going to start to wander. These little things can be mysteries like, who is the man in black?
Who are you?
No one of consequence.
I must know.
Get used to disappointment.
Okay.
Or they can be dilemmas like, will they rescue Buttercup before the wedding? But they're all basically questions that the audience is asking. You need them to keep asking questions, and then once you answer one question, you get them interested in a new one. I think my favorite example of this in The Princess Bride is Inigo Montoya's quest to avenge his father, who was killed by a six-fingered man.
You don't by any chance happen to have 6 fingers on your right hand?
Do you always begin conversations this way?
My father was slaughtered by a 6-fingered man.
When Inigo Montoya first brings this up, it makes us ask, who is the six-fingered man? And then the audience actually gets to find the six-fingered man before Inigo Montoya, which is such a treat for us.
What is it? You have 6 fingers on your right hand. Someone was looking for you.
So the movie answers the question, who is the six-fingered man, and then gets the audience to ask new questions like, will Inigo Montoya find him? Will he get his revenge? Will he get to say the thing to him that he's been waiting a lifetime to say?
Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
The audience is so excited to keep watching to get the answers to those questions. But just because the audience really wants something doesn't mean you should give them exactly what they want. Yes, getting what you want can feel satisfying, but if the audience sees it coming from too far in advance, it can actually be a bit of a letdown once they actually get it. So you actually need to confound the audience a little bit. Remember, they're dependent on the movie to tell them a good story. If they could think of the whole thing themselves, they wouldn't need the movie. So what they really need are things that they didn't see coming or didn't know that they wanted. Because of this, when Inigo Montoya finally meets the six-fingered man and delivers his famous line,
Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
and then the audience is probably expecting them to launch into a swashbuckling sword fight, but they got something else. It's not exactly what the audience wanted in that moment, but I think it's more interesting. Of course, ultimately, Inigo does get his revenge. It's harder and a little more complicated, but he gets it. And in the end, the big question of whether Wesley and Buttercup will live happily ever after is answered in the affirmative. Because that's what the audience is here for. It's why they've entered this relationship and stuck around. They wanted happy endings. This isn't to say that all endings need to be happy. Audiences have different expectations from different stories. But the ending should meet their expectations, or at least address their expectations, because ultimately screenwriters can do whatever you want. These aren't rules, these are just techniques. If you have a different goal, like to confuse your audience or piss them off or something, hey, you do you. But if you want the audience to fall in love with the movie and have that love last over multiple viewings and even multiple decades, consider rewarding them at the end with what they really want. Because getting that feeling again is what's going to keep the audience coming back.
The end.
Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and maybe learned something. From all of us at ARC Studio, be kind to yourselves and happy writing.